Welcome, everyone, to the Sigos Committee podcast. This is our podcast for the evening of April 2nd, 2023. This is our sort of at the end of basketball season preview slash recap. We've got lots of things going on. We also have some F1 and Coach Commish's premiere as a football coach, soccer coach. So we'll get to all that. First off, my name is Jordan. I'm the VP of Vibes this week because I am so tired that I'm working on Vibes alone. And with me tonight, I've got Commish, Katie, Beth, and Andrew. Katie, how are you?
Good, guys. I'm good. I'm a geriatric and I'm having cataract surgery tomorrow.
Yay!
So chugging water because I'm not allowed to have anything to eat or drink after midnight.
I hate that feeling.
So a lot of water, chugging it. But I'm good.
Beth, how are you?
I'm staring into the abyss. How are you?
Doing great. Staring into the 12-tone abyss.
Yep.
Remember, all notes are equally important. Don't worry about tonic. It's not real. Andrew, how are you?
Very good. I was able to go to a Reds Pirates game. We can discuss that in a little while.
Yeah.
I felt it was sufficiently sicko content for us.
You're also staring into the abyss. How exciting.
It was 40 degrees. It was great.
And Commish, since we're all on staring into abyss vibes today, I feel like you might be joining us in that.
Let's just say I'm running on 2 hours of sleep.
Okay.
Oh no.
So let's say that it could be maybe 3, but honestly, at this point, I really don't know, and I don't think that would matter.
I don't think that extra hour is going to do you much.
I don't think it would have did me much, but yeah, not necessarily staring into the abyss. I think I just can't see right now. I'll just say that.
That's fine. So I want to start with something I talked to Commish about. I dropped something in the Discord real fast for all of us. Do we know what that is that I just dropped in the Discord?
I know what it is.
I know
Absolutely.
You know what it is. What is that,
I know.
Beth?
That's the flag of Louisiana.
It's the flag of Louisiana. And I learned
With its
something.
vampire birds.
Okay. So
yeah.
I did not know this.
Favorite.
The pelican is volning itself. Volning is the heraldic term for wounding itself. And that there's this whole history of pelicans. People believe that pelicans would give their young their own blood if there were nothing else to eat. Commish, did you know this about your flag?
Like in Texas, you all have to take Texas history.
Yes.
In Louisiana, we have to take Louisiana history. So yes, I did know this.
How do you feel
Like
about
a
having
Pelican Day or something?
How do you feel about having blood on your flag?
I really feel like nobody ever notices the blood on the flag.
So it was a problem for a long time because it's in the description. Apparently, Louisiana law until 2009 just said a white pelican. It didn't list how many chicks there were, if there was a nest, like anything else. Just the pelican had to be white.
Yep.
This is the most jazz flag imaginable.
And you know what's funny
Here's
about the
form,
pelican?
make a flag.
The pelican having to be white, but the state bird is the brown pelican.
Right. Yep. That's
Perfect.
the only thing that's wrong. Is that
Makes no sense. But this is what I grew up with, Louisiana. We don't make any sense.
I just learned this fact today. That is a pelican volning. It is hurting itself to feed its blood to its young, which actually isn't a thing. It is just a metaphor for Christianity, or Catholicism specifically.
I have always wondered if this is one of those situations where someone saw a pelican doing something they didn't understand and just made up a story, or if this is the classic medieval person who's never seen a lion describes a lion and everyone just rolls with it.
It seems to honestly be a bit of both from what I can tell, but this thing has been around since medieval time.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna also drop a picture of one of the favorite things I saw today. Apparently this was a Scottish donate blood thing during World War II. And it's got your blood can save a life over the Scottish flag. And look there, it's a pelican feeding blood to its young.
Who are nesting in a World War I helmet.
Yes, of course it is.
I love it. Like, real pelicans never do this.
No.
But since the Middle Ages, people they describe this as this weird spirit of self-sacrifice. It's just so weird that it's still prevalent to this day. It's just really, really ridiculous.
I mean, listen, there are real pelicans and then there are the realist pelicans.
I loved the idea, though, that it had a heraldic note. That it's not just, this is a brown pelican volning. From the Latin voln, it's just I hit, I wound, I strike.
So as soon as Beth was like the realist pelicans, I went back into my No Limit Soldiers days. Yeah. And basically I just thought of the the pelican is just asking if you bout it. But it's a real pelican.
No. You need to prove your loyalty.
I learned
My
new things
God.
today. This is great.
My God.
Amateur ornithological heraldry. It's our passion.
I'm never gonna look at the flag the same now,
Nah,
so I
nah,
appreciate
nah.
it.
The realist
P.
Pelican.
Master P stands for Master Pelican.
The more you know.
Oh God, it does now.
Does now. Absolutely does now.
I was just going to make a comment about this is where Catholic guilt comes from, but the commissions. I mean, this is way better, way better.
Speaking of guilt, how did your youth soccer coach debut go, Coach Commish?
Man, I mean, are you gonna grill me like press conference style?
Let's hear the summary first. Come on.
All right. So this was the most hilarious, fun time I've ever had.
Yeah.
It was incredibly hectic. There was so many different things that caught me completely off guard about coaching. Just to even get all the parents rounded up with the kids to start, like the practice before, was incredibly hectic. The game started. It was just chaos the entire time. I don't think I stopped smiling and laughing throughout the entire time.
Good. You did it right then. Good.
I mean, we don't take official score, but it was weird. Like some of the kids on my team were like, "Yeah, we won 4-3," and I'm like, "Okay." There's like no scoreboard. The kids knew.
They absolutely know. I'm very much a believer in a lot of these squishy things of not too much competition early on, things like that, not taking things too seriously. But I'm also very much of the belief that kids know what the score is.
Oh yeah.
Kids always know what the score is.
Mm-hmm.
They totally knew. It was just a madhouse, honestly.
What formation did you go with?
It's a 5v5.
Yeah.
And apparently it was just like an amoeba 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where they would just run all over the place. But 2 of the kids found themselves like, whatever I'm gonna be goalie because I'm tired.
Okay. Yeah.
There was other kids on the other team. There was just like a herd of 3, and then there was like a goalie, and they had like a sweeper in the back.
Sure.
Where
Yeah,
anytime the
that's
ball
what they
got
were,
through,
uh-huh.
he would just kick it as far as possible. Controlled chaos by Coach Commish's team here.
I'm glad Team Turbo Power did so well.
I did.
Excited.
We did.
Ability big time.
We did silence the super strikers. You know, they got their goals. One kid had a hat trick for them, but that we shut everybody else down. You can't stop number 10. You could only hope to contain him. we had some goalies that made a great save. Very physical game. Really, at one point, which, you know, I'm the coach and also the referee.
Oh yeah.
Along with the other coach.
Did you tell yourself Did you tell yourself good call and then have to immediately censor yourself?
Yes, totally. Basically, the end lines, like the out of bounds, were just like kind of like a suggestion.
Yeah.
And so parents were just kicking the ball back into play. Extremely physical game. I almost got decapitated by a kid's shoe.
Okay.
Like it flew off and was flying at me, but I ducked and got out the way.
A very George Bushian response. I'm impressed.
Yes, very nice. You know, my team was locked in from the very beginning when we won the rock, paper, scissors coin toss. They were ready to go. My son scored a goal, and you know, he was the first one to get us off the scoring. But I mean, what can you say? He's the coach's kid. He's a gym rat.
A real leader on the field.
First one in, last one out. You know, just a field general. He was the captain.
Coach on the field. Yeah, I got
coach
you.
on the field. You know, just amazing. Big time hustle. A lot of fun there.
What was our snack situation, Coach?
Snack situation. Really at the end, which we got the snacks. We had them all line up. They shook hands, and then we did a parent tunnel that they ran through.
Okay.
Congratulations. That was awesome. And then they got snacks. I believe it was some goldfish, little tiny cutie oranges in Ziploc containers, along with a little tiny, you know, water bottle, because you got to keep the kiddos hydrated. It was in the 90s out there, and I had a black coach's shirt on. I may have lost a little weight, which could work out, because really my Fitbit said I ran about 5 miles.
I can imagine it did.
My stalker tracker that I was wearing. It was amazing. I do want to say that the constant pressure that Team Turbo Power put on the Super Strikers wound up in the winning own goal. Just because the pressure, the kid on the Super Strikers did not know what to do. He just, you know, basically decided to give up and put it in his own net because he just couldn't deal with the press.
Panicked. Yeah, just panicked. Yeah, that happens.
That's right. When playing out of the back goes wrong.
When's your next game?
The 14th. We have this week coming up off.
Ooh, an early bye.
We got an early bye week. So it's only a 6-game season, but they feel like we need an early bye week.
Well, we're excited to hear more about your career going forward, what snacks we got.
Coach, are you looking to possibly add in some other single-celled organisms as, future formations? I know you tried out the amoeba and the pseudopods really worked out for you, but do you have is there a paramecium in our future? What are you thinking?
I really don't know what I would do there, but it really just matters is to have a really good captain to be your mitochondria, because that is the powerhouse of the cell. So
Stuck the landing.
God,
That was beautiful.
God.
Perfect.
Thank you. No more questions. Go team. Go Turbo Power. I'm gonna bump your Air Bud World Pup movie review a little bit later on.
you can. We don't even have to go into it.
If we get there, we get there. I'll pop it.
If we get to the Air Bud World Pup, there's many inconsistencies in this, and I would like to discuss it. But if we get to it, we get to
That's
it.
good.
I am furious at the movie's continuity, but we can skip that for now.
Katie and I want to talk about Formula One. Katie, did you watch the game last night? Oh, sorry, did you watch the race last night live?
I watched it this morning now,
Okay.
which is the perfect way to watch it for a lot of reasons.
Because I watched it.
Okay, were you the one tweeting? I
It
loving
was me and Joey. Joey and I both.
You
did.
guys kill it every race.
We-
I love it so much.
Joey was tweeting WrestleMania, and he stayed up straight through because he's young and can do that. I needed a nap, so I went to sleep at 10. I woke up at 11:30, expecting a grid walk. There was no grid walk because Martin Brundle was not
Someone-
there.
Okay, someone texted me this morning and was asking me about it, and I was like, I don't know, I didn't try to watch.
There was no grid walk. He was apparently back in
that's
Britain.
unfortunate.
This is
Okay.
unfortunately he would have really enjoyed this.
I think he would have too.
So I'm gonna ask the other three folks who are not quite as F1y as we are. Have you heard anything about this race, Andrew?
No, I have no context. I know some things about F1. I've watched a little bit, but I have not followed this race.
Commish, do you know anything about this one besides just a little bit?
So basically, I know it's complete chaos.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of the tweets on the timeline. I did not watch the race. I did not have a chance to do it, even though technically I probably was up at some point in time because I haven't got much sleep.
God.
But really, I kind of know the outcome of it, but I know it was just absolutely insane, and this is why you want to talk about it. So
And I assume, Beth, that you were just trying to survive the last couple of days. So, yep. Okay. So, guys, I have in the show notes the points there. And I want you to know that this is all a fabrication. This, what you sing right here, this is a lie. It is a truth that we are told because this is how the race ended, but this does not describe the race. If you'll notice that there's Aston Martin in third and fourth, which, again, makes no sense. Alonso maybe, but not Lance Stroll. You'll notice that Ferrari ended up out of the points. Notice that there was only one Ferrari car. In fact, the 12 I've shown you here, those are the only cars to finish the race. When I say finish the race,
Oh no.
that's also a lie because some of these didn't always quite make it to the end because after they finished the race, yet another car broke down.
Oh god.
12 cars finished this race. There were 3 red flags. In F1, a red flag basically means that
Finished.
finish.
Yes.
Oh god, in the biggest of quotes here. In F1, a red flag means the race has to stop. They go into the pits, they wait till track clears. So this is the only time they've ever had 3 red flags in a single race. F1 races are not that long.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I watched every race last season. I missed the first 3, I
Mhm.
think. I don't remember any red flags. I'm sure there was 1 or 2, but it was rare.
Usually hardly any.
The only time I remember last season it stopping like this was in Singapore for the rain, which was another whole disaster.
That's
for
usually the
another
only
reason.
thing you see
Yes.
nowadays. You
Yes.
don't see a red flag for track debris usually because usually it's not a huge problem. So
Right.
problem 1.
Yes. Okay.
We start this
Continue.
race, and
Yes.
Katie, you're gonna help me flesh this out. We
Yes.
start this race. Boom, turn 3. Charles Leclerc's car did not make it past the turn. The Ferrari goes out. He hits him in the gravel. He's stranded. Lance Stroll clipped him technically.
It was maybe Charles's fault too, though. And I'm a Ferrari fan, but I don't know
Ferrari
Anyways,
won out. Great. We're already starting on top. Then George Russell, the best boy in the Mercedes, gets ahead, followed by Lewis. We have Mercedes 1-2 for a while, and
He was the
then
bad lad for a minute.
and
He was
then
the bad lad.
we get a red flag on lap 8. Alex Albon's car crashes, and the red flag wasn't called right away. Go ahead. No, go.
It's sad because he was in P6.
Yes.
The Williams were up in P6. It was such a good race for him so far. Sorry.
And you have the red flag isn't called right away. So it was a safety car first. So because George Russell was in the lead, he gets the first option to pit. So Mercedes tells George to come in. He wants to come in. Lewis is a little pissy about that. Once George is in the pit and Lewis is in first, then they red flag. So those spots are locked. George is back in 6th or 7th. Lewis is in first. Everyone goes in. Everyone's getting new tires. This was supposed to be a one-stop race, just hard tires the whole way. They were ready for this.
Yeah.
And so we're locked in, wait for about 10, 15 minutes. I watched some Australian rules football. We're back. Then we have like Lewis Hamilton in lead, and then you've got like Max Verstappen right behind him. And Max is just like the Red Bull is a fucking fast car, right? Max not only passes Lewis within the first couple turns, Max is like 10 seconds ahead. He's having a nice Sunday drive. We're back to this again, where the Red Bull is just on a nice Sunday drive, 10 seconds ahead. And of course, what happens to George Russell's car? It's on fire. Something with a powertrain happened, and the car just literally lights itself on fire, and he's out. So
It looks like a rocket because all the fire is coming out of the back.
it looks
Legit
like,
looks like a
when
rocket.
you start in Mario Kart with the special start. That's what it looked like.
Yes,
That's what it looked
it kind of did. Yes.
And so we have a sort of pretty boring race. Like Lewis really can't get ahead. All the cars are kind of pushing each other pretty hard because they're all trying to creep up. There's a big gap between 1 and 2, like 10 seconds, 12 seconds.
There is, until Verstappen runs across the grass with no one around
He
him
falls
and
asleep.
loses like 4 seconds for no reason.
It looks like, have you ever like been like half asleep driving on the highway and you drive over the rumble strip just a little bit to jolt yourself awake? That's what it looked like. Okay, so we're on lap 56 at this point, 58. It is not a great race. It's pretty just like chalky. But then Kevin Magnussen's Haas hits a wall. It decided it didn't like its tire, so the tire flew. This tire went airborne. There was a wheel but no tire left, and they call a red. And at this point, everyone's fucking furious because this race is settled in. Alonso's in third in the Alpha. Like, things are just good. Carlos Sainz is climbing back up. He'd had a bad start, but was like fighting for it. Sergio Perez, same thing. And then we get stopped, and it's only 2 laps left, and everyone's starting to talk. Okay, what happens now? Because when you restart from a stop, you have to have 1 lap under safety car. You have to have a formation lap, basically, and that counts as a lap of the race. All of a sudden, we're going, okay, there's only 2 laps left, but only like 1 real lap. And then there's no DRS then, which means you can't use the extra turbo button. Everyone's captured together. Verstappen's no longer 10 seconds ahead of Lewis. Verstappen is a place in front of Lewis. And they go, okay, well, this is going to be fun. We're going to start this thing and see what happens. And guys, I want you to click on the, or here, I'll stream this.
It's basically like a sprint race.
Everyone's got new tires. They're all in softs now. We are just like going to drop the hammer.
For the 3rd time this afternoon, 5 lights are on. It's lights out, away we go. Hamilton gets away well. Verstappen comes over to try and cut him off and does so. Verstappen leads. Fernando Alonso tries to go round the outside. Hamilton's in second place.
There we
and
go.
there's contact.
God.
Oh
It
no!
gets better. It gets better.
The two
Oh my
It gets
God.
way better.
strikes, and there is Esteban
There's pieces
Ocon.
Oh
flying.
God, what is flying? Yeah.
I really think the
It's
announcer
chaos
makes the sport.
as the
I like
straight
this
on goes Lance Stroll into turn 3. Aston Martin
Snoped out of that
have
turn.
seen their hopes of a double podium or a race win absolutely evaporated. Then we've got another red flag. That should be the race over now.
Let's see. They give us a couple options on this view.
And
You can
Pierre
watch.
Gasly
Those are the
took
2
each
Alpines
other
who have
out.
knocked each other out.
Oh dear, Aston Martin and Alpine having a nightmare of a resumption here. Verstappen stayed ahead
The
of
one pit
Hamilton
guy, he's just
and
like, I am
Sainz in
resigned
third.
to our
Nico
fate.
Yes, this is-
Hulkenberg
He's
up
just
to
like,
fourth,
I'm not
Yuki
even mad.
Tsunoda fifth.
It's
Norris,
like,
Piastri, Joe, Bottas and Perez will all be scoring points if we don't get a restart here. But that was absolute chaos.
This
at the
car's
start.
stranded in the
Verstappen
gravel.
goes
Here we-
across to
here's
cut off
another
Lewis
view.
Hamilton.
You can
Alonso
watch-
then thinks, right, there'll be a gap round the outside. Sainz down the inside here. Gasly locks up, just avoids Alonso. Sainz tags his fellow countryman, spins him around. Checo Perez gets avoided. And then we see the two Alpines coming together.
Yeah, it was all caused by the contact between Carlos and
Yeah,
and
there
Fernando.
are the 2
I don't know where the
Alpines.
2 Alpines got. Oh, there they are.
Oh, and there's the Red Bull.
who finished
Right.
third?
It was
So I'll
everything
talk about
was
that in a
happening
second.
at the
'cause-
restart
Okay.
there. We see cars skidding off into the gravel, Perez losing it, and that's the contact with the two
Oh, Jesus.
Alpines. Otmar Saf, now to you,
Chaos and
down on the
carnage.
pit wall, your reaction to what
I mean,
happened to your cars, please.
everybody with the surrender cobras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just nothing but
Wow.
surrender cobras.
The crew reactions are amazing.
So
the pit crew's like, they're just helpless.
Verstappen
God.
and Lewis clear the first 2 turns. Sainz hits Alonso. Alpines knock each other out. You got other cars in the gravel. And then after all of this, red flagged again, they go back in. And that means they're red flagged with 1 lap left. They didn't count this lap. There was a whole lot of conversation of, will they count this lap or not? Did they get through enough sectors? Did they get through a certain part of the track for it to count? And otherwise, they go back to what was back ahead of time, except you have to be able to get your car across the line under its own power when they do one last formation lap. So the Alpines, who are up close, would have ended up way higher up, but because their cars were out, they couldn't finish the race, like the one last like lap around the track they have to take. And then with all of this, we're waiting 10, 15 minutes. We're almost pushing up against like the 3-hour time limit, because F1 races have a time limit to finish. Otherwise, they just drop them.
Which came into play last year in Singapore.
Yes. And so all of a sudden, they tell Carlos Sainz, who was up like 4th or 5th.
He was in 4th.
4th. That he has a 5-second penalty. But there's no driving left to do. You have this situation where they have to take a lap behind the safety car, which means they're all going at like half speed. But everyone behind Carlos Sainz is trying to stay within 5 seconds of him, because that time will count on this not real lap. So instead of just like tagging on the time at the very end and just being like, oh, at the end you have a penalty, they actually told him they had the penalty on that last lap around. It was absolute chaos. And that's how you get Lewis Hamilton only being 0.17 seconds behind Verstappen. That was not the case of this race.
Yeah.
But that's what ended up happening. And
Good,
you
I'm
can
glad.
see where Sainz would have ended up if you add 5 seconds to his time. He would have ended up in about.
I'm glad I didn't watch this one with the kiddo, because he would have been upset. Carlos getting the penalty.
Oh yeah.
That's his favorite driver. He's Carlos Sainz. I mean, just like he would have been really, really upset. Carlos would have got the penalty. He would have been distraught. I probably would have had to turn it off and deal with that. But I'm glad I didn't watch it. Old man Alonso gets 3rd. So I can't say old man Alonso because he's my age. For God's sake.
I mean, the Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso 1, 2, 3, that makes total sense. Like, if you look at that, you go, okay, whatever. Times are weird, but that's fine. It's the everything else that all of a sudden, like, the truths of this race come cracking down.
The fact that only 12 drivers finished is insane.
Oh, yeah.
My sister and I, so we got up this morning and watched it together. We were over at the beach this weekend. And so we're watching it on my phone. I will say, especially because I would have been angry if I'd been up and had to wait through all this. Mm-hmm. But having woken up and being able to fast forward through, like, it was perfect. We were so entertained by all of it, especially on lap 56 when all of that stuff happened and then they restart. We're both, like, giggling, watching, like, all of this just unfold. I do want to point out a few things. Number one, I'm very sad because this is the last race for the pink Alpines.
Oh.
And I love the pink Alpines. They're beautiful. Also, one of the commentators, and I wish I'd paid attention because I was trying to watch the race, kept cheering for Yuki in P11 because there has never been a driver who has finished the same position 4 races in a row. And if he'd finished P11 in this race, he would have finished the same position 4 races in a row. But he's pulling against him getting points, and I can't support that. I was very upset about that.
Except for first place. Plenty of drivers have won first place.
Yes, I'm sorry, you're right. Yes, you're right.
No one has gotten another position 3 or 4 races. I can't remember what the record was.
Correct. Yes.
But yeah, because of Carlos Sainz's fuck up, it moved Yuki up a spot
into the points, and the commentators were upset about it. It's very rude. It's very rude. And then I think we did already mention that this is the first F1 race ever that's had 3 red flags, which is insane. It was a fun race to watch, and when you could fast forward through.
It was not fun at 2:30 this morning.
I would have been angry.
It's probably all of our fault for causing the chaos by making fun of Australia's time zones.
It's true.
So
you probably did speak that into
we spoke that into existence, and then we babbled the time zones. We probably caused this. You're welcome, or we're sorry, F1 fans.
The first 3 races were kind of boring, so we were due for some shenanigans.
George Russell also at 1 a.m., so this was after he flamed out. Tweets out when he gets back to the paddock, when it's not your day, it's not your day. And hey, Russell, I got you, my friend. It definitely was not your day.
Also, can we talk about really quickly, speaking of Fernando being the old man on the grid, his vibes this season, he is the happiest driver on the entire grid.
Oh, he's
he's elated
because he's in an Alpha. No one expected him to do anything. All of a sudden, the Alpha car is actually driving well.
Aston Martin.
Oh, Aston. Oh, God.
The Alfa Romeo is not doing
the
well.
Alpha. And all of a sudden, like, he's back up with his old buddy Lewis. They've got a good old man rivalry going on. Max can do whatever the fuck he wants. Max is gonna complain about things. Whatever. No one cares. I also have to show you guys one picture of Lewis Hamilton during break, because I did not realize that Lewis Hamilton was. Well, I knew he was 38. I did not realize that he's a very well-built 38-year-old. There were lots of thirsty tweets about this. I gotta find the one I'm looking for.
Thirsty Lewis Hamilton tweets here?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, all right.
Here we go. Yeah, I'll drop this into the Discord for y'all.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's...
I do remember this, yeah.
I can't do that. I'm 38-year-old
sure
man.
you could.
I can't bend over like that. I
What?
can't touch my no. Okay, I cannot touch my toes, and I absolutely cannot grab
What?
my toes.
I'm just gonna tell you this, maybe a little bit too graphic, but I'm able to touch my toes in the shower every morning. That's
go.
one thing that I do every morning to check my flexibility. So I can't bend that far, but I can touch the toes. That's just one thing that I do.
Now, I'll be honest. I've never been able to touch my toes.
Okay.
Same.
Ever, ever, ever.
I used to be very, very bendy and flexible in high school, so I used to be able to do splits while playing first base.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yes.
That's wild.
That's okay. Never
That,
mind.
probably
then.
not anymore, but I mean, I could probably work up to it again eventually, but I'll rip out a hamstring right now if I try it immediately. But I was flexible at one time, but now everything hurts. So I'm going to take
Jordan,
some ibuprofen just thinking about this.
Okay, so let's talk about some April Fool's jokes by teams and what we were caught by and what we weren't. I'm going to admit that I got caught by the General Booty going to tight end Oklahoma tweet. That actually caught me as I thought that was real because he hasn't been a great quarterback. And I was like, okay, they're going to shift him over. He's a little big. That makes sense to me. I messed that up. My bad. I have said his
we
middle
didn't
name on
really-
here before. Have I?
We really didn't do any. We didn't want to do any jokes or anything like that. We just decided to turn it to April Blues Day,
Yes.
which we just posted nothing but bluey all day long from all of our accounts. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that. And if you couldn't tell before, you do have some parents running the Sickos Committee account.
Oh, yeah. The April Fool's joke that hurt me the most were the sad Yukon Husky because I
They're
just
so good.
desperately want those.
So good.
Those looked great. I knew they weren't real. I was sad they weren't real, but I wanted them.
Yeah, that just made me angry. I was
It's
so
so
looking
good.
forward to rooting as hard as I possibly could for UConn all year, and nope.
You would have had us.
Yeah, you would have.
I also liked Goldie the Gopher saying he was transferring to Wisconsin.
It's just really messed up that Goldie the Gopher entered the transfer portal. Again, Luke Fickle, he's a great recruiter.
And then
That's right, Luke Fickle's at Wisconsin. if you
Let's say,
forgot
yeah.
that already. Yeah.
I forgot about that. And then our friends over at Good Bull Hunting said that the joke that Texas A&M and Arkansas were going to leave for the Big 12 as early as 2024. Did you guys see what the St. Louis Battlehawks, the XFL team, said?
I did not.
Oh,
I didn't.
Okay, I'll read it out loud. Following a vote from XFL owners, the Battlehawks have been officially approved to relocate to the greater Los Angeles area and will do so
Oh
for the
my
2024
God.
season.
Oh,
Too much.
Too
much.
soon,
Too
Battlehawks.
much.
Oh my god.
Looking forward to building a world-class franchise in
Wow.
Inglewood.
oh, oh.
That's just mean.
This move isn't about whether we love
I'm
St.
going
Louis
for
or
the
its fans,
replies.
but
I'm going
rather
for the replies
about
here.
what is
That's-
the best interests of the Battlehawk organization.
That is
No,
that
guys.
is rough.
No, guys. They did have to explain the joke immediately afterwards. They did post a "We're not going anywhere" image.
Yeah,
and the
right
same thing.
below. Which this one got me for a full 10 seconds of reading. I wish someone would have got it pick on my face while reading. And then there were just replies like, "Read the room."
Yeah.
Like this is not good. Like people were just like too soon.
It was wonderful. That was definitely out of nowhere. They were not happy.
Somebody looked like they were hurt by this joke, and he fought back a little. He was a little upset. He said, "I knew this was a joke because it mentions the XFL in 2024 in the same sentence." That was
Ooh.
that was kind of.
Oh.
I mean, again, the Battlehawks.
Whoa.
Battlehawks, you brought this on yourself by doing this,
Yeah.
right? This is what happened.
For a little XFL context for the weekend, we did close our circle of sicko for the XFL because the 0-6 Orlando Guardians, led by Quentin Dormandy, who was taken off the team because they accused him of sharing the playbook, and he was acquitted and came back, and he led the 0-6 Orlando Guardians to a win over the 6-0 DC Defenders this weekend.
Wow.
It was huge.
exonerated.
Exonerated. No
Any given-
crime
Guys-
committed.
Any given Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Thursday,
Whatever
in the
days they play,
XFL, yeah, or whatever days they play.
Do I need to go to an Orlando Guardians game? I feel like I do.
I was going to go to a
would probably
Brahmas
go
game.
before they if the case is out there anymore.
I know, before it's shut down.
They swear
Okay.
they're coming back.
I
They,
might try
they
to do
swear up
this.
and down they're coming back. Only 3 more weeks. This is 3 more weeks of the regular season, then a 2-week playoff.
Okay, I might try to do it.
If Commish can get tickets to the XFL championship game in San Antonio,
Oh, I mean, it's here in San Antonio.
It is.
I may have to go. Maybe I can get media credentials for.
I bet you can. I really bet you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I don't think this would be a hard
You
one.
think it's
But
gonna-
yeah,
No, this isn't like the Alamo Bowl. I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah, the Alamo Bowl is a little bit too uptight for
Yeah,
me,
I think this
especially
is-
especially with the Longhorns.
Yeah.
Like when
Oh,
the
yeah,
Longhorns
no.
get involved, it's like they were a little uptight. So I was like, maybe the Brahma's a different version of a Longhorn.
I think so.
I can get in. When the hell is that, by the way?
I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks from now.
XFL title game. Look it up. May 13th. Is that Mother's Day? No, there's no way in hell I can do that. No, May 13th is Saturday. Okay.
You're fine.
At 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
6 p.m.
Okay.
local. Yeah, you got that.
Yeah. Well, so 7 local, but yes.
XFL, sorry, the USFL also kicks off on April 15th. We'll have some overlap here, guys.
All right.
So let's talk about women's basketball first. I want to say that I was sad I didn't get a chance because Kiddo was being sort of a dipshit about it. I didn't get a chance to go to the D3 and D2 title games like I wanted to. Congrats to Transylvania and our friend Arch for winning the D3 championship, completing a perfect season. Their coach, who wore a delightful bat-themed blouse.
So good.
By the way, the
Beautiful.
team is the Pioneers, but they use a bat as their mascot. So it all works out. Also, want to give a shout out to Ashland D2 Women's Championship. Ashland also completed a perfect season, and their coach is the only coach who's ever won a national title as a player, an assistant coach, and a coach, and all at the same school.
Wow.
She's a
That's
player
awesome.
there,
That's impressive.
assistant coach, and a head coach. So those were really 2 great games. And then we had our women's Final Four. Both of those games were absolute bangers. First off, Iowa beat South Carolina, sending Iowa to their first their first championship in school history. And the story of the day is Caitlin Clark just going to town in South Carolina.
She's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think so. She's pretty good. I mean, how many points did Iowa have? And she had 41, and then she assisted or scored all of the points in the fourth quarter against South Carolina. It was amazing.
75% of the game.
Amazing.
And here's the thing. South Carolina, Zia Cook had 24 points on her own and played 40 minutes. South Carolina was in this thing the whole time. They ended up coming up a little short, 77-73, but honestly, it was a really great game.
Just wanted to give a shout out to what was the player Cisnano, Monica Cisnano for Iowa. I love her. She's amazing. I know Caitlin Clark was doing all the scoring and everything, but she was just doing all the dirty work down low. Yeah. And apparently, I think Nicole Auerbach wrote an article about her that she never dribbles. She never dribbles. She never dribbles the ball. She's in the post all the time. Yep. Never dribbling. It's just automatic go.
Up. It's amazing.
It's nuts. Gets the ball. She's going up. I mean, she's not that big compared to what South Carolina had. I think was it Cardoza? I guess is 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah,
she's
South
really
Carolina.
tall. She's really tall.
And then Cisnano's 6'3", so she's just just battling in there with somebody that's 5 inches taller than her. Just amazing. I may have to buy one of her shirts. Honestly, somebody linked one of her I guess NIL deals. I may have to buy one of those. Big fan of hers.
The other side of this game, the late game, was the rock fight between LSU and Miami. This game was
no.
No?
Virginia Tech.
Oh, sorry. I'm in totally the wrong thing. You're right. Never mind. I'm so sorry.
And that was
Listen,
the
all
morning
former Big East teams are the same.
When you click on women's basketball, okay, no, I did the wrong thing apparently. No, sorry. I was looking at the Elite 8 game between LSU and Miami. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry, LSU Virginia Tech. Sorry, my bad. Again, it was just a really great game. Both games that night were amazing, and the crowds were just there. The crowds at the American Airlines Center in Dallas were absolutely jumping. We realized at one point that on Friday we had, or it was the Renegades game on Friday or Saturday. I can't remember what
Friday.
it was. Friday.
Sunday.
That's right. So we ended up with a Taylor Swift concert in Dallas, in Arlington, a XFL game in Arlington, and this in Dallas at the same time. It was quite a good weekend for Dallas sports and events thing. So we can talk as much or as little as we want about the title game today. Today in the title game, LSU wins 102-85 over Iowa in a game that had a lot of commentary on it. The first thing I want to say is that I did think that the refs were way over extended on this game, trying to police thing and call calls that I didn't think were necessarily worth calling.
It was not good. It wasn't good.
Someone said that this was the best thing they could have done for gender equality in NCAA sports is by reffing the women's game as badly as they ref the men's game. So
that's kind of fun. I'm sorry. That's kind of funny.
That's messed up. No, it was. I think there was a stat that I found on the It Goes college basketball account. It said that this was the most fouls they've ever called in a national championship game for the women's game by 10 fouls. So they had 37 foul calls the most fouls they had in one single game was actually earlier in this tournament, where they had 52 foul calls earlier in the tournament. I think it was between James Madison and Ohio State in the first round of this tournament.
Yeah, that
It
was
52
brutal.
foul calls, 37 foul calls, which was ridiculous. Everybody was in foul trouble. It was just not good watching.
And we can talk a little bit about LSU's coach. I'm gonna say just the lightest of things, and that I can't remember her name, which should tell you something. Give me her name. Kim
Mulkey. Yes.
Kim Mulkey spent more time on the court than I thought she did off the court. There were times when she was literally running into the refs.
Yes.
And just talking shit at them, and she got no calls on it. Which, just saying.
I don't know what happened there. I mean, she was doing that throughout the entire tournament. Like, she had carte blanche just to run on the court all the time. And I mean, really, she's like on the court almost at the 3-point line, like guarding Caitlin Clark herself at some point, which I'm surprised some Iowa or Virginia Tech player, honestly, in their game before, didn't like accidentally try to dribble into the coach.
Yeah.
Because I would have, like, I don't know. I'm not that great of a player, so I probably couldn't have pulled it off. But, I mean, like, she was in the court of play almost as bad as the DoorDash delivery guy from the Duquesne.
Yeah, more so. I'm going to argue more so.
Further on the court and didn't have delicious McDonald's. So.
Didn't have delicious McDonald's delivered from the Dukes.
I'm also going to, again, as gently as possible, say that I'm glad Caitlin Clark talked shit. It's a lot of fun. I love her shit talking. But also, when you're on the losing side of it, expect to get shit talked back to her. I assume that she's fine. Because she seems the kind of person where if she talks shit and she gets beat and someone's talking shit back to her, cool. I deserve that. Like, that's fine. That's what it should be.
I think we can actually zoom out and make it like the team that wins. It seems like now feels like they were disrespected and that they have to play that up even after they've won the national championship. Like Georgia did the same thing.
Yes.
Like that. Like there were players that were saying, "Oh, y'all thought we were going to go 7-5." Literally, nobody thought that. That was one of the best teams of all time.
Yeah.
And LSU was trying to pull the same thing. It was just kind of a strange narrative to choose. Like, I don't know.
Just lean into it. Like
It was a
we
little
were
bizarre.
awesome. Things were great. I talked shit because I had
I
shit
won.
talked at me and I
Yeah.
won.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's sports. That's everything.
That's why I don't talk trash, honestly, because it's bit me in the ass way too many times. So I never talk trash anymore.
Yeah, but
I'm
also,
very
but then again,
superstitious.
I'm not good enough at most things to be able to talk trash about it, so I don't. If I were that good, I would, and then I would eat my fucking lunch, eat my breakfast leftovers when someone threw it back at me. And I think that it's very disingenuous for a lot of folks, and we'll say it's mostly online, just people clutching their pearls on, oh my, how can people talk like that?
Oh,
And of course, it's got
oh no.
classist undertones and racial undertones and
Yeah,
gendered undertones, and
I'm definitely not going into that crazy multi-level nuance conversation because we'd probably have to have a multi-part podcast on something like that. The one thing I just want to break it down to is, congratulations to LSU. It's weird being, I guess, like an LSU fan and being like, hey, I love the players. I love, like, the girl that didn't play at all and just went unconscious in the first half, like hitting like so many threes out of control. Just amazing. Something like that. I love the players. And it's just weird to have to root for a team where you don't necessarily appreciate the coach as a person. And you got to like divorce yourself from that to cheer for the players that actually essentially get the things done on the court. To get it done. And so it puts you in a weird position. It's like you have to be some sort of like, you feel a little bit like a villain cheering for your own favorite team sometimes. But again, it sucks for a bunch of the LSU fans that have to go through that dilemma. I'm sure they're happy with the title, but it feels, I don't know. It's like you have to like separate the coach from the team, and it's congrats to the Tigers. And I know they're excited because, I mean, they went to the Final Four, like, 5 years in a row and got eliminated in the Final Four. Didn't even make the title game in those 5 years with, like, Simone Augustus and Sylvia Fowles back in the day. So, I mean, it's fantastic that they finally broke through and got the title. I'm happy. I'm happy for the Tigers and all of Baton Rouge and celebrating the win.
And their 50th NCAA title in any sport, number 50, which is hella
5-0.
impressive.
That's amazing. So, I mean, it's great for LSU. I love Iowa. Their team was amazing, too. It sucks, like, when you get to a title game and you don't want. I mean, like somebody's got to lose, and it sucks. You don't want them to lose. You both wish they could like share the title, but that's not sports.
And if this hadn't been such a rough show, I think there probably would have been a lot more of that. This just feels, it just feels like we can all name title games that we can think of where in any sport where it didn't live up for whatever reason because it was a ref show, because someone was injured that sort of threw the whole thing off, whatever. Like there's all those, we all have those things in our minds where it just doesn't always add up.
You know, the ref show, I mean, as soon as you say ref show, I think about like the Sacramento Kings, LA Lakers, Game 7, 2001.
Yeah.
The ref show back then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those, you know, again, I'm a Saints fan, a lack of ref show in an NFC title game. So, you know, I understand that. So, I mean, having things like that mar a title game or a championship game is never good. One thing that I will say, after the game was over, I mean, everybody was talking about how bad the officiating was. And then the controversy of the trash talking between, you know, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark doing the "you can't see me" thing, which you can't see me do this because this is podcasting.
Yeah, he's doing it though. He's doing the thing.
I'm doing it.
He's doing
the thing. Can you see me? No, you can't see me. But it's great because there's a huge discourse that's going on Twitter right now, and it makes me feel like that women's basketball has made it with the ratings and the crazy high ticket prices. So I feel like it's awesome, and it's great for the sport, and it's going to grow it. I know Andrew, you know, our big sickos college basketball Twitter account, probably one of the main tweeters. I'm sure I'd love to hear your opinion about that too.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely gotten there. Especially there were years where there were teams that were so dominant, and I think everybody thought that would be another one of these years this year with South Carolina, but they didn't pull it out in the Final Four. Iowa played their best game, and South Carolina played not their best game. So to have a final where Iowa gets through in that level, and they have just a generational talent in Clark, and then LSU with, I think, like 9 new players. So something worked in gelling the team together with Angel Reese coming in as a transfer and all these other transfers. So to give kind of an analysis in that regard, I think it was really cool that there's not, I mean, it's amazing sometimes when there's one dominant team. I think we've been seeing that with Georgia and college football and Alabama a few years before that. But I think to have kind of that maybe a group of like 8 to 10 teams that, who's going to win it of those 8 to 10? Yeah. I think that would be a great place for women's college basketball to be in. And we'll see how that's going to go next year. Iowa won't be as good because Sonano, I think, is graduating, but Clark will be back. I mean, you can't go to the WNBA until you're 22, which is kind of a crazy rule, but
that's insane. That's insane.
That's the long and short of it for me. So it's exciting. I mean, there's some teams that have question marks, like Stanford. I don't know what's going on there because their best 2 players are both graduating too. So there's a few places where we're not sure what next year's gonna bring. But I think that there's national attention and like exactly what Commish was saying. It's exciting. It's an exciting time, and I've gotten way more into it personally. I mean, I can just say that from my own getting into it. The teams that I follow are good now, so it's. I don't know. I don't want to sound mean and say, it's more worth watching now, but it's certainly like a compelling product that's doing really well. So it's a shame that the national title game was kind of a sham because of the officiating, but it still was high quality content, and that's all we're looking for here. I think
that another thing is that we're finally able to watch more of the women's games. Like it's right. A matter of I can watch the games more, right. Yeah. I can watch the games. You know, I will talk a lot of shit about ESPN Plus about the fact that like some of their stuff is just not great and how they package it is bad. But hey, I can watch women's basketball. I can watch almost all the games somewhere, and that absolutely changes the story. It's not just this thing that pop up at the end. As someone who's I'm not a big basketball person, but I can definitely go more often and see these games, and I can see the progress over the course of the season. It's not just something that I pick up at the very end, see 3 or 4 teams dominating, go like, this must just be, chalk, whatever. You get more of the storyline, I guess.
This move, is that because it's WrestleMania weekend?
Yeah.
I just want to point it out.
No.
I don't even watch wrestling, and I know is that
Yeah, John Cena.
John Cena?
Yes,
John Cena, that's right.
John Cena, who is now rocking like the old man bod. He's getting on in the years, guys. It's still good, but it's not as great as it once was. And a lot of people at the watching wrestling were like, he's looking okay, I guess. I don't know. Let's talk about the other side then, the men's side. We had one game that was an absolute just amazingly close, well-fought game. We'll talk about that first. Florida Atlantic, San Diego State. Holy shit. FAU goes ahead, increases the lead, and then San Diego starts playing their version of basketball. It looks like FAU is just going to outrun San Diego. San Diego wants to play a game where everyone scores in the 40s.
San Diego State.
I'm talking about my beloved, what are they called? San Diego Privateers? No, what are they? Shit.
Toreros.
The Toreros.
Toreros, that's right, Toreros, yeah. Sorry, San Diego State, you're right.
Yeah.
The Aztecs
They're
want
going to get mad.
they want to get you into a rock fight for 40 points. FAU looked like they were just not going to play that game. And then San Diego State comes crawling back, slowly but surely, until a buzzer beater shot that the minute it left his fingers, I knew it was going to go in. I saw the angle, and I was like, well, that's it then.
I don't know if you've watched the replay recently, but the players on the bench are at such an angle for San Diego State that they can see that it's going in too. So the guy, like the guys in the zip up jackets that probably don't play that much are like the first people up, like celebrating before the shot is in the basket.
As soon as it left his hand, the whole bench, everybody in the warm-ups are on the court. Like, they're doing this like it's going in, and it went in. I really feel bad for FAU because they led like that whole game. And it was one of those where they built the lead and they just wouldn't let San Diego State, they kept chipping away. And they just wouldn't let San Diego State take the lead because it felt like if San Diego State took the lead, it was over and San Diego State was going to win it. Their last possession, the last minute of the game, I didn't get to see it. Because Hulu cut out on me.
That wasn't just you. It was everyone.
I'm furious. It wasn't just me. Everybody with Hulu. Fuck it. I was trying to get that shit back together. I saw like the timeout and it was 17 seconds left and FAU had the ball and I was like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. All of a sudden I saw Twitter like erupt and I was just like, I was able to see it after this and I was like, where it froze and I missed like 40 seconds. Then I get like this and then it goes out again. I'm like, fuck you, Hulu. Like, I'm so mad.
Here's a little of the audio and video, folks, of that last little bit. So you can watch the people on the bench jump up as soon as the shot. No, I got a second.
Get the Spanish version from 10.
Okay, let me grab that. That was better. You're right.
The Spanish version is amazing. I don't care what they say announcer-wise. Sorry, Jim Nance, and I know it's your last time. He has it.
Okay, here we go.
We're going to do the Spanish version because it's the best. It's the best.
Acelera hacia la cancha, gancho de izquierda, falla el tiro. El balón lo tiene San Diego State. Reloj de tiro apagado. La tiene Butler por la derecha. Buscaba la falta contra Boy. Butler levanta el doble en camino. ¡Sí!
Yes.
¡Increíble! ¡En la chicharra! Lamont Butler mantiene el sueño vivo para los Aztecas de San Diego State.
Sueño vivo para los Aztecas. Oh my God.
God, please call everything. Just call everything.
I mean, I'm trying to learn Spanish. I think I need to just watch sports in Spanish and eventually just learn Spanish through watching like Telemundo, Univision, just doing all of that. Just learn
great.
Spanish that way.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way I'm gonna do it.
Pub in Spanish because a lot of the U.S. commentators are not very good in my opinion. So I recommend it. And if the Women's World Cup, you can watch that at like 2 a.m. in Spanish.
And that San Diego State won it on a mid-range jumper, the shot that is dead, and we all hate. Yep. Everyone says talks about it isn't there. San Diego State wins it on a fucking mid-range jumper.
That's the only thing I can make now. Like if I play basketball, the only thing I can make is a mid-range jumper.
Not gonna get it from three.
I am not tall enough to get a layup. 3-pointers too far away. The mid-range is my game, which is a dead game, and I know I'm an old man because of that.
And then we go on to the next game. Hey, Miami, you know what? Y'all had a great season. You stood up for the ACC. Things were great. This was not your night. And UConn absolutely just took them apart.
They've been so good all tournament. It's been
I know.
UConn does not play any close games. None. They can't win a close game. They just win and blow out. They have beaten, was it 16 or 17 of their non-conference opponents this year? They've only lost in the Big East. It's amazing. Like, whenever this podcast comes out, they're playing Monday. I don't know when it is, but I don't want to discount San Diego State or whatever, but it just feels like this is one of those stupid years in the Final Four that UConn's there. They're playing their best basketball, and here they come. They're going to win the Final Four with all these crazy high seeds in the Final Four. They're going to do it again. Mm-hmm. It just feels that way. I I hope the other way happens and I'm wrong, but it just feels that way.
I threw the game flow and the shot chart of the Miami UConn game into the chat. You guys can see where Miami just decided to a deadline for a bit, which you can't do against UConn because then you're chasing them the rest of the game. Also, you'll notice Miami's 3-point shooting had completely just come off the rails.
Oof.
Yeah.
The final game on Monday night, which our podcast will come out either during it, either right before or right after. We'll see what happens depending on my schedule tomorrow.
And we have our Sicko CBB National Championship game. Our poll, which is the 1 seed Louisville, the prohibitive favorite, is taking on the most incredible Cinderella story of the Sicko CBB poll, the 12 seed, the Iowa head coach, Fran McCaffrey. He just blew the ever-living crap out of the 1 seed Georgetown. So it's the actual basketball team versus the head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Even though the Hawkeyes have been eliminated in the Sweet 16, their head coach is still going on, and he's going to compete for a national title.
There we
Honestly,
go.
I don't know if it's more sickos that like a coach wins it or like the coach gets all the way to the final and then just loses to an actual team. I don't know. But we're going to find out. I don't know if it's just like the Iowa fans that follow us are just voting for Fran because it's Fran. Like, I have no idea. We can't control it. It's Twitter polls until they start charging for Twitter polls in like 3 weeks. Whatever.
I do want to mention Conference USA dominance. CBI champs are Conference USA, Charlotte, NIT champs, North Texas, Conference USA, FAU in the Final Four, NIT runners up, UAB, and all this great money for Conference USA. Don't ask where those teams are going next year. Go and ask where those teams are going to be next year. Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State are going to have so much money they don't know what to do with next year. They're losing their minds.
Well, I mean, at least Conference USA replaced one owl with another set of owl.
Not a Gamecock.
They did?
The Gamecock, which is always...
Two owls, right? Kennesaw and Rice.
Yes, they have... Oh, that's right.
Oh, no, Rice is leaving.
Rice is going out. Rice is going to the American.
Rice is leaving.
Well,
the American will have
one.
The American will
Rice
have
is
2
too
owls.
good.
The American will have 3 owls now, actually.
Yeah.
They'll have FAU, Temple, and Rice.
The Hoot division.
Because we always like to talk about college football occasionally, I do want to mention Mr. Starkman. Who,
Yeah, what is this?
Okay, so there was an article about the new Northwestern Stadium, and that some people local in Evanston don't want it because they're afraid of all these things. This is a dude who's 56 and runs a hot dog store across the street from the stadium, I believe.
Yeah.
And they
was
asked
this in the
him,
Wall Street Journal?
I don't remember.
So he's seen some shit, is what you're saying.
He's seen some shit. And he was saying, people, because the locals were like, well, people will pee on our lawns and they'll just pee on things because that's what football fans do. Okay, you live in Evanston. Let's slow your roll here, fuckos. But
wait, does he work at Mustard's Last Stand?
yes.
Oh god.
Yes, he does.
That's right across the street from Ryan Field.
Yep. They asked him about what he thought about all these things, and he has a very good idea. He wants them to build this because he thinks that Northwestern deserves a new stadium. But they asked him about the comments on peeing on things, and he said that that's exaggerated. It only really happens whenever Northwestern hosts Ohio State. But then he also offers more information. Wisconsin fans party hard but are, quote, nice and respectful, he said. Michigan State fans are, quote, brilliant, lots of doctors and judges. Michigan supporters are, quote, ruffians, but generally well-behaved.
Bruh.
Iowa's fans are the friendliest in the Big Ten, and Nebraska's fans are most likely to arrive in pickups. Quote, Ohio State fans are the only problem, Mr. Starkman said. They have a monster following, and they think the world is their bathroom. Asked about this, Ohio State declined to comment.
Twitter verifies this thought about Ohio State fans. I'm sorry, but it does.
But here's the thing.
So
Ohio State fans were like, fuck yeah, we pee on things. Ain't no thing. That they're fine with this. Michigan fans.
Nuts is in the team name. Come on, what do you expect?
Yeah, like both of my brothers-in-law are Ohio State fans. Can confirm hard.
Now, Michigan fans, though, they're furious because either one of two things are true. Either this dude thinks they're ruffians, or he fucked up and got them confused with Michigan State. Because he said Michigan State fans are brilliant, lots of doctors and judges. And Michigan fans are like, that doesn't describe them, that's us. So they're broken between either they're ruffians or they got mistaken for Michigan State. I'm not sure which is worse. This broke them. This broke Michigan Twitter.
I honestly love the Ohio State fans. Are like, yeah, we pee everywhere.
Everywhere, it's fine. Okay, yeah. They were fine with this. It was not an issue.
Ohio State fans would fit right in at Mardi Gras, just peeing everywhere. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
But Michigan fans, ruffians. Oh, it's so good. If you called them assholes, it would have made them angry, but whatever. But ruffians. Ruffians is
Yep.
their language. So it makes them angry specifically in a way that's going to hurt them. They're confused for Michigan State, which makes them even angrier. It's so good. There's no win on this. I assume Mr. Starkman did this out of spite.
I didn't realize a bunch of Nebraska fans just drive pickup trucks. But, I mean, if you got farms and corn or whatever, it makes sense. Light duty farm trucks. But, I mean, it's just like the Nebraska fans are most likely to arrive in pickup.
I want to ask Mr. Starkman about the rest of the teams. Keep talking, dude. Tell me
Yeah,
more
go.
about what you think.
Let's go. Tell me about Illinois. I want to know about Hoosier fans.
Yeah.
Let's go. Tell me all
Yep.
about that. What about Rutgers supporters? Do they pee everywhere, too?
I assume so.
I can't wait for his thoughts on USC and UCLA.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
so
God.
great. No, they're gonna ask for vegan hot dogs, and that's what's gonna start. It's
Oh, yeah.
gonna, yeah.
Do you
A
have
vegan
do,
Chicago dog.
do you have an Italian
Yeah.
beef but without the meat? Can you get a dipped
Yeah.
beef? Does your beef does that beef sauce have meat in it? Was it made with meat?
Can I get an Italian beef with some avocado?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, is the vegan gonna make them mad, or whenever you ask them for an avocado dog?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is that a veggie
Good
jus? You didn't make it with big beef parts, did you?
Can I just have quinoa?
Do you have a quinoa dog?
A
quinoa
quinoa dog.
So shout out to this dude. Bless him. Gave us some great content.
That's great. Thank you. Thank
So
you, Mr.
good.
Starkman. He's the hot dog vendor?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I can't. I want to. We can either. Can we find him and interview him
Oh, we can. We can
Definitely.
We can call
He's
it up.
probably at Mustard's last stand every day.
for the Sicko Substack? Hey, we're the Sickos committee. We need to know more here about these Big Ten fans.
His dad, who just passed away a couple years
Oh.
ago, was known as Colonel Mustard.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
perfect.
Mhm.
And his son is also part of the hot dog stand. This is a generational thing, yes.
Oh no, I like that. That's nice.
Hey Andrew, can you tell me about how's this pitch clock thing going in baseball? I've heard about this. I've seen a couple of things about it. Is it going well the first couple games?
It's very funny when it goes wrong. It's very subtle. They really this is a broader content thing by me. They need to mic up officials in every sport so we know what the hell's going on. They're just making gestures, like they're going like this to run it, and then they're like using their finger. It's like a whole hand signals.
Okay.
Like it's kind of ridiculous. But there's usually only one or two at the most per game. There's usually about one is what we're at right now. But I was watching my beloved Mets today, and there was a strikeout by the other team on the pitch clock because you have to be ready as the batter with 8 seconds to go, and he wasn't ready, and he was a strikeout by pitch clock. So that was deeply funny, and that's why we have the picture.
It's
this
great.
is the guy that was taken out reacting, which is very funny. So we can put that in the tweet.
I'm gonna say we don't need to mic up more people because after watching weeks of XFL at this point, where it just sounds like they have just left live mics on everyone in the stadium,
Oh no.
It's so confusing to try to hear when they talk to Dean Blandino, and then the refs are like, you can hear the refs actually try to work these things out in their heads in real time, which is awful. They don't just flip it on for the announcement. The dude's you hear the dude going, number 45, and then you hear over his headset, dude, that was 35. Number 35, correction, number 35, stuff like that. It's,
Yeah.
I think what we
and
need-
in rugby, everybody's the ref in the middle is mic'd up, and he's always talking. Sometimes there's cussing, and it's great. So I want more of that, honestly.
What we need is everyone mic'd up, but not everyone live all the time. Kind of like F1 with the radios.
yes. So what other baseball stuff do you want to talk about, Andrew?
Okay, so the Dodgers opened up at home against the Diamondbacks, and they're 2-2. They have 2-1 losses, so their run differential is 14, but they're 2-2 because they lost 2 one-run games where they only scored 2 runs. The other team scored 2 and they scored 1. So not great.
That's brilliant.
The Rangers, the Twins, and the Rays are the teams that are undefeated, which is what everybody had probably in their scorebook.
Oh yeah, go Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers swept the Phillies, so that makes me very happy. And the Twins and the Rays beat the Royals and the Tigers. So it's gonna be a long year for those last 2 teams, unfortunately, I think. And as I mentioned in the open, I attended the Reds Pirates game in person. It was pretty cold. It was a beautiful day in the morning on Saturday, but it was 60, and then it was not 60. It was it was not great. The time of game, the pace, I had been going to some minor league games where they were using the pitch clock last year, but the pacing and everything is really good. There's less dead time. It's just way better. You can't look away though, but so that's good and bad. Like there's no time for you to like, look over at your friend or, grab your water or whatever you're doing. You might miss something, which is better than sitting there waiting for an indeterminate amount of time for, guys to step out and call timeout and knock the dirt out of their spikes and go through their whole routine where they readjust the batting glove and then put it back on and, all that stuff. So a lot of that kind of dead time has been removed. So the game was like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Jesus
and
Christ.
There was a lot of scoring. It was 6-2. It was like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It was great. And I had Skyline for the first time. This is not a Canimals podcast, but this is a live update that is pretty good.
Yeah. What'd you get?
2 conies. There's an excessive amount of cheese on those things.
Yeah, there is.
It's a little much, but the meat sauce is pretty good. It's like kind of like eating Indian food because it's very cinnamony.
Yeah.
As people probably can imagine. But yeah, full mark.
The original people who did, I think the original was Gold Star, not Skyline, but of that whole thing, apparently those flavors are Balkan,
Greek and
Macedonian, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Greek people put in their meat sauce. Can confirm.
Oh.
They put a little bit of cinnamon. Not as much cinnamon as Skyline puts. They go a little hard with the cinnamon. But yeah, it was fun. Reds Pirates, very 2 great teams there.
Hey, big Pirates fan here, and that's probably one of the reasons why it led me to be the commissioner of the Sickos Committee.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Let's go Buccos.
I appreciate the advent of the pitch clock just simply because it's going to keep people like the Commish and I from consuming literally fatal levels of the Pittsburgh Pirates at a time. There's an MSDS sheet for that team, and like we've been flirting with disaster for a long time. So I just appreciate Major League Baseball taking this step to preserve our lives.
I need to start getting you guys like dosimeters of Pittsburgh Pirates, where if your meter starts turning gray, you've consumed too much Pirates. Please leave the stadium immediately.
The demon core of baseball teams.
Basically, yeah. The elephant foot, yes.
That's the originator of the dad text that I get, is because he's from Pittsburgh. He grew up in Pittsburgh, and basically, even though I grew up in New Orleans, he's basically passed down his Pirates fandom to me. And so once baseball season goes around, I don't get texts about the Pirates every day. I only get texts, every now and then about the Pirates. So that's basically like the father-son bonding is I get the Pirates text. He was just like, we talked about, the Pirates winning, he was like, glad we got the win. His win is a win. And then like, I hadn't heard about him because the Pirates lost the last 2 games. So they're 1-2. So again, we check in periodically about the Pirates. So that's the one thing, the father and son thing that he did. He's very up there. He used to sneak out of school to go watch the Pirates at Forbes Field. He used to duck out of class to go watch afternoon games at Forbes Field. So that's basically his Pirates heritage when they were actually good. And I'm stuck with them when they've not been good at all. And basically they're the only team that I root for that has not won a title in my lifetime. So hopefully the Pirates
that's because I root for them, and I have an extremely cursed fandom list. So
I dropped something in the Discord for you guys. It's a gentleman with a large plate of food in front of him. I want to talk about the 6-way, okay? The traditional 5-way Cincinnati 5-way, which is not a sex act, even though it feels that way, is spaghetti, chili, cheese, onions, and beans, I believe. That's the 5-way.
Okay.
So this is the 6-way. This is a food challenge. Because remember back when we used to do those things, guys? When food challenges were a thing?
Man versus food.
Yeah, before the guy on Man versus Food, watching that show and watching his health do this over the course of a season.
But there's episodes where he gives the food out to people. That's not the point. Eat the food, man. Come on.
I think his heart needed a break. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
yeah, but don't agree to the show.
Okay.
Don't be like, okay, I'm in Man versus Food.
Well, what you're looking at in front of you here, guys, is the world famous 6-way. This is going to be 2.5 pounds of chili, 2.5 pounds of spaghetti, 2 pounds of cheese, and a pound of jalapeno caps.
Are they like fried jalapeno? Oh man.
Yeah, those are fried.
Sure
on top.
are.
Oh man.
Clean your plate in 60 minutes and your meal is free.
Oh my god.
That sounds painful.
It's
The
dense.
pasta is the worst part of
so
that.
dense.
Like the idea
Heartburn.
of putting that much pasta into my body. Oh my god.
Heartburn.
That exists. Let's bunch your Air Bud World Pup movie review for next time.
Okay, we'll go Air Bud World Pup movie review. Fine, we'll talk about it. A lot of plot holes.
I've got
okay.
I've got a short one for you guys today in honor of FAU making the Final Four. We're going to use FAU as our best in our recurring series, our 39-part series, the best season of all time for teams who are below 500 all time, or Besotaf to Wab 500 at. My favorite, easy to remember thing. Just remember, it stands
Part 8.
Part 8.
Part 8 of 39. I posted the map that you did.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of fans who were like, hey, when are you going to get to our team? I'm like, we got 32 to go.
We got tons left, y'all.
We got a lot left.
Also,
I can't tell you.
I am looking forward to our
advance.
I'm looking forward to our next series, the top 25 teams of all time, the worst season of all time for the 25 teams who are above 600 all time. It's also going to be a great series.
Yes.
I'm really worried about how easy that acronym is getting to be to say.
Oh yeah, it's really easy. You just say it. Besoftaftwab 500 at. It's easy. It rolls off your tongue. We're going to talk about FAU. Florida Atlantic University is not an old school. FAU itself wasn't founded a long time ago. FAU was founded in 61. The oldest newspapers I can find for the college are like 68. They're in Boca, which I've said before, I have this permanent location blind list. I can never remember where Boca Raton is. It's by Miami. It's on the Atlantic coast. It's not up in the armpit of Florida like I always think it is for some reason. I think it's north of Tampa. I don't know why that is.
It is not north of Tampa. If you're thinking north of Tampa, it's the University of Florida.
No, I'm thinking like on the coast in the armpit.
Oh, no,
there's nothing
definitely
there.
not. There's nothing there. Maybe like Apalachicola. That's about it.
It's really close, Jordan, if you know where Palm Beach and West Palm are.
Yeah.
It's close to those.
Okay.
It's really close to those.
Yeah.
FAU football team is not that old either. FAU's football team only started playing in the early 2000s. They're 118 and 147 all time, but they've had some really good seasons in there. We're going to trace this all back to a man by the name of Howard Schnellenberger. Howard Schnellenberger is sort of the father of this program. He played at Kentucky, and he played for the Toronto Argonauts. I could not find a picture of him in Toronto, but I desperately want to find one now because the idea of big mustachy Howard Schnellenberger playing in Toronto just makes me very happy. He was really known as an OC genius back in the 60s and 70s. He was Bears OC in Alabama for the championship seasons of 61, 64, 65. He was the OC under Don Shula at Miami for the Dolphins, winning the Super Bowl in 72 and the undefeated season. His first real big head coaching break was the Baltimore Colts, where he coached under Robert Irsay. And Robert Irsay tried to fire him mid-game, or tried to tell him to change quarterbacks mid-game in his second season. Howard Schnellenberger told him to fuck off upstairs. Robert Irsay said, I'm going to fire you. And Schnellenberger goes, you can't fire me till after the game. Go back upstairs. So that went well. He lasted a season and 4 games, I believe, in Baltimore. Then he was OC a couple more places and then took the Miami job. The Miami job in 79, Miami University job was seen as a dead end back in the day, especially in 79. They were actually considering taking rid of their football program. But Schnellenberger shows up. He has quarterback Jim Kelly, Buffalo Bills darling Jim Kelly for the first 4 years. And they build up steam. They win the championship, not with Jim Kelly, but later on in 83. They beat Tom Osborne's undefeated Huskers in the Orange Bowl 31-30. The best part about that game was that Nebraska scores at the end of the game to get it to 30-31. If Nebraska...
Hold on. Can we put like a disclaimer warning for Cornhuskers fans here?
Yeah, sorry.
Just let that go. Put that in advance. I know it's been a long time. But again, put like, corn sounds or whatever you got to put.
Corn sounds, got it.
Husker fans, don't forget.
Don't listen to this. You probably know what happened, but if you don't want to hear it again, Nebraska fans, you can skip this part.
Does this mean we could talk about 1997 too?
Oh my God.
If Nebraska just kicks the extra point, they tie the game 31-31. They probably win the national title. But Tom Osborne decides to go for 2. And so Nebraska wins the game and fails. So Miami wins this game 31-30 and wins a national title. After this, Howard Schnellenberger leaves and he goes to Louisville. And Louisville's in an even worse position than Miami was when he took the Miami job. They'd only had 2 winning seasons in the past 12 years. He turned the program around, ended up at a high point where they were 10-1-1, and they beat Alabama in the Fiesta Bowl. And then I'd forgotten about this part. Did you know Howard Schnellenberger was head coach at Oklahoma for 1 year?
Yep.
I'd forgotten about this.
It was not a great year.
It was 5-5-1.
Yeah, not a great year.
There were lots of things that apparently didn't work out there. His sort of thing coming in, he had some personal problems. It was a bad fit. It did not work. So he retired like in 95. He was done with college football,
Yep.
And then he got the call to help build a program from scratch at FAU. He was hired as director of football operations. His job was to raise money to get this thing in place. It took him a couple years, like it always does. And then FAU president asked Schnellenberger to choose a coach. Everyone guess who he chose. Himself. He was the first coach. I want to read a quote, guys. This one is so different, says Schnellenberger. The others, we were working with adopted kids. These were our kids, which is a quote we hear a lot. But I'm going to continue this quote because it gets spicier. We went from foreplay, I think I can use that term these days and not get in trouble, to conception to birth. It's been a great romance and it's produced, I think, a wonderful child.
Oh.
Anyone want a mustache ride is what he's asking? And FAU said, yes, please.
Oh, wow.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And if you don't know his voice, it's got a particular
Yeah.
graveliness to it that I think if I heard the word foreplay come from his mouth, I would just die.
Wait, can y'all hear me again?
Yeah,
Can y'all hear
you're
me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to drop this in the Discord, but it's not working. I met Howard Schnellenberger
Yeah.
with my friend Priscilla. We were at a Miami game, and it was right after Mark Richt was hired at Miami. And I think we asked him something like, hey, what do you think of Mark Richt or whatever? And he literally looks at us and goes, the Lord spoke, and now he's here.
There we go. That's what
Said nothing else, and I was like, okay.
that describes the Mark Richt experience in Miami.
Yeah, it does. Anyways,
Oh my god.
that story, Jordan, is giving, wow. I don't know if I
Yep.
should show this picture to anyone else anymore.
Nope. Now it's become tainted. Something wonderful
It's
became
retired.
tainted, which is what I'm very good at doing.
Oh.
So FAU plays their first full season in 01. They are a 1-2A, which is now FCS independent. And they're playing their home games at Pro Players Stadium in Miami, Florida. That is the if you don't know, that is now Hard Rock Stadium, as they call it, I believe so. The Miami Dolphin Stadium,
Mhm.
that thing.
It's Hard
So,
Rock now.
The
Yeah.
old version.
So it's Joe Robbie Stadium, Pro Player Stadium, Land Shark Stadium.
Mhm.
What else have they had? Hard Rock Stadium,
Those are the ones I remember.
Dolphin Stadium, Dolphins.
Dolphin Stadium.
There's singular and plural, Dolphins.
There's been so many sponsors of that stadium, but it's the same stadium.
There-
But they just changed the sponsors now. It's great.
Their
But
first
Joe Robbie's the original.
their first game was a 40-7 loss to Slippery Rock,
My God.
Oh.
seen by 25,000 people.
Perfect.
That first season was not great, guys. They did rack up wins over Bethune-Cookman, Marist, Jacksonville, and Albany, but they did lose to St. Peter's, our beloved Peacocks, who dropped their football program, I believe, 2 years later. It was very close to that. The second year was worse. They went 2-9. They did, however, beat FIU in their first year. FIU also puts their program in right along the same time. But we're going to talk about the 03 season. There have been 3 11-3 seasons at FAU. The most recent 2, 2017-2019, were both Lane Kiffin seasons. I didn't want to talk about those because they were a little too recent for this. But both of those ended with a Boca Bowl win. Their first 11-3 season was in 03, in their third year of existence. It was in FCS Division 1-2A, and they made the FCS playoff semifinals in their third year of existing as a program.
Wow.
Man.
Their OC was Larry Sipple, an NFL guy who coached wide receivers at Miami and Detroit for a bit, but that was really his only thing. He had never really done college before. Their DC, Kirk Hosa, who was a Slippery Rock alum, then was at DC at small schools except for being some time at Louisville. Their stadium, after Pro Player, they went to Fort Lauderdale, which is never a good thing in your life, guys. If you're in Miami and then end up in Fort Lauderdale, something has gone wrong usually. I'm going to post their stadium.
Fort Lauderdale is not that bad.
This is Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. It is a
Oh,
cute little stadium.
Stadium's not that great. Yeah.
Let me get you one with some people in it for you. There we go. This is what FAU game day looked like. You'll notice that it's not in Boca Raton. This was an off-campus stadium, which is always great for vibes for any sort of young football team.
The Hurricanes really know how that's going.
Exactly. So we're going to talk about the 03 season. I'm going to drop that schedule in the Discord as well so you guys can look along.
Can we talk about like the tenants of the stadium?
Oh, Lockhart Stadium. Oh, please read them because they're great.
All right, that's good. So Lockhart Stadium, I believe it was opened in 1959.
Yeah.
As
a high school stadium.
It was demolished on my birthday in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Yeah.
This is
By
Wallace
the way,
Lockhart
what
Stadium.
is there now? By the way, that's where Inter Miami FC plays.
Okay.
It's that
All right, so
that bit of land.
There's another stadium. All right. Here are the tenants of Lockhart Stadium that FAU opened their stadium, had their first stadium, essentially. The Florida State Strikers, which were of the North American Soccer League in the 70s and early 80s. The Fort Lauderdale Strikers, they're back again, 1988 to 1994.
The American Soccer
They were
League
in
this
the
time.
American Soccer League, in the American Professional Soccer League, so 2 leagues. Then the Florida State Strikers, they're back again. They're in the United States Soccer League, the Miami Fusion. Apparently, there was an MLS franchise in Miami.
There was for 3 years, yeah.
3 years there. FAU was there. Then, once FAU was leaving, there was 2 seasons of USL, United States Soccer League, Miami FC. Then the Fort Lauderdale Barracudas.
Not the
which was
Strikers, very different.
the Stars Football League. I don't even know what that is. Then the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, they're back again. It's a North American Soccer League. And then the Fort Lauderdale Strikers under-23 team. And then they closed up shop in 2019. So that stadium had a quite interesting history to it.
Off-campus stadium, they were having some attendance problems that year. We'll talk about that in a second. But I dropped the schedule into Discord. You can see it there. They open up actually really promisingly in 03 with their first win ever over an FBS team. Middle Tennessee, step on down.
Ooh.
You took a loss in Murfreesboro to a team in their 3rd season.
Oh, man.
Yeah. 23,000 Middle Tennessee fans paid for that, paid to watch that. But then
Lost 5 points.
notice the next game, though. Commish, who is their next opponent?
Valdosta State.
What kind of football does Valdosta State play?
Is that Division 2?
That is Division II. What is the score in that game?
My God. Division 2 Valdosta State opening up their stadium that season.
Yeah.
They lost 45-17. Oh, my God. The attendance was only 4,700 people. I'm glad it's not that many people there.
So now, understandably, FAU came off a 2-9 season. Okay, they did not have the fan support.
Also, it was 4 p.m. in September in Florida, so
Oh, God. That's a brutal time.
thicky.
Now, I will also say that Valdosta State was ranked 2nd in D2, had only lost 4 games in the last 3 years. It was a bad choice. It was a bad D2 choice. But still, getting your shit kicked in by Valdosta is not the best. The next one, though, was the heartbreaker. Commish, what's the 3rd game they played?
Oh, my God. They lost at UCF 33-29. Was UCF in the MAC that time? They were in the MAC.
That was MAC UCF, yeah.
Yeah, and they finished 3-9 that year. That was MAC UCF.
Ooh.
This was a team that FAU really wanted to, thought that they were like this was their like peer institution. We're trying to match them in football, UCF. And so this was not great UCF. This was MAC UCF.
I just want to say that game was played in the Florida Citrus Bowl, where Chedzee roams free.
You mean Prince Chedward, but yes, sure.
Don't disrespect him with Chedzee.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
don't you dare! I love Chedzee.
No, Chedzee,
I don't care.
No.
Chedzee is awesome.
Head in the fucking guillotine. Once Prince Chedward has a moment, we're guillotining his ass. Yep.
I hope Chedzee has a bunch of cousins, like the hot and spicy version of Chedzee, the white cheddar version of Chedzee, whatever. The extra crispy one that looks like it's got a sunburn in the Florida Chedzee. I hope there's more. Bring it on, Cheese It. Let's do it. Do it all the way.
So the heartbreaker loss to UCF for week 3, but then we get a turnaround. They win at Youngstown State and they win at Illinois State. Now they're an independent in FCS, so there's no conference here, but they win 2 away games pretty convincingly in FCS. This is their first win streak in program history.
The first time they won 2 in a row.
First time they won 2 in a row.
They went to Youngstown, Ohio, and Normal, Illinois. Not
Illinois.
Not the normalites of Michigan.
No, of course not.
No, definitely not them.
I'm going to read a little bit of their newspaper about this win streak and as they're going. Yes, FAU fans are the same from last year. Their support of this Owls team, this is 5-2 Owls later on, is the same as last year's 0-7 team. FAU attendance for the first 2 home games was just over 4,000. Then came the slap in the face. The Owls were cheered on to their 4th straight victory by only 3,000 fans. Attendance has actually dropped since the Owls have been winning. Since no one knows how you go to the game, I'll leave you with the notion that FAU is now ranked on almost every poll. ESPN has the Owls 28th, Sports Network 23rd, and Don Hansen 21st. The Owls are well on their way to Division 1-2A playoffs, light years ahead of where they were a year ago. And it's true. They made it to the playoffs. They ended the season on a great home run. They beat some big teams, Northern Colorado, Gardner-Webb, and Siena. Then they beat rival FIU in Miami.
The Shula Bowl.
And
right.
then they, in the playoffs, they go on a tear. They beat Bethune-Cookman at Bethune-Cookman. They beat number 16 Northern Arizona in Flagstaff at the Walkup Dome, Sky Dome. And then they lose the semifinal at home on TV in 2003, on ESPN2 in 2003. They lose to number 6 Colgate.
Ah.
At home in Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale.
That was the biggest attendance of the year.
Yes. People showed up, 12,000 people.
There was a game where only 3,300 people were there, and this one has 12,000. How many seats does this stadium have?
Oh, I gotta go back to
I don't know. Look it up. I don't know.
I think there's temporary seating based on the photos that I've seen.
With 17,417. So
room.
they weren't
some
even
breathing
sold
room.
out.
Okay.
They had some room. They had
some
room.
The big things here are that the next year, and this was always the intention, was that they were moving on to FBS. So they spent these 3 years in FCS. They got their playoff wins, and then they were like, okay, full speed ahead. Their first year in FBS, they went 9-3.
I'm sorry, who was one of the 3 losses?
So they lost to Louisiana Monroe.
That's
they
right,
lost
baby.
to Troy, and they lost to New Mexico State, all of our favorites. But they beat Hawaii, North Texas, Mitsu, Texas State, and Northern Colorado. Beat Florida A&M, Illinois State, Edward Waters, which I think is a person. I don't know. And then FIU. This was their transition year, so they played a mix of FBS and FCS opponents. Then in 2005, 2 years after their semifinal run, their luck ran out. This was the first year in the Sun Belt. They went 2-9 with losses at Kansas, Oklahoma State, at Minnesota, Louisiana Monroe, at Louisville, beat Lafayette. Not Lafayette College, Louisiana Lafayette. Lost to Mitsu, revenge game. Lost to Arkansas State, 0-3 in overtime. I gotta find that game.
Oh my god.
I gotta find that game. Holy shit. 0-3 in overtime?
Okay. Wait. Arkansas State and
FAU 2005.
Okay, Arkansas
Did they
State.
beat FIU, Jordan?
So that's early overtime days.
What was the result of the Shula Bowl that year?
They lost to FIU 52-6. Revenge game.
Oh!
Revenge game.
Oh no.
That's been a real swingy rivalry, if we're being really honest.
Oh my god. I found the box score of that game.
FIU had to vacate that game, by the way, because of penalties. FIU was cheating. That's how they won.
I found the box score of that game.
Yeah.
I wish I could find the drive chart, but I found the box score of the 2005 FAU Arkansas State game.
Yeah.
It was completely scoreless. You probably could have done the Frank Beamer meme with with Howard Schnellenberger if that game was on TV. It was on ESPN Plus. That was witnessed by 20,000 people.
There was no fucking way it was on ESPN Plus in 2005.
It says in Wikipedia, so I'm probably gonna say ESPN 3.
Yeah, that would be better.
Or whatever it was back then. Yeah, I want to find the drive chart. I am gonna try to find the drive chart of this.
I found a drive chart. Would you like a drive chart?
Yes, let's do it.
Boy.
Here we
Love
go.
that.
I love how we went from the best team of all time,
Sorry,
from FAU, and then we're just like, hey, let's go to the 2005.
I tried so hard to not make the first part of this thing I did about Miami. I was like, I was talking way too much about Miami, or just I'm going to cut it because I want FAU to think we're talking about Miami, not them. And then we come to this, and we're just dragging them now. Here we go. By the way, drive chart.
Sorry, FAU fans.
Punt, interception. Punt, field goal attempt. Punt, interception. Fumble, punt, downs, punt, downs, punt, interception, field goal attempt, interception. And then
FAU had 168 yards of total offense on 62 plays.
No. How did
2.7 yards per play?
Arkansas State had almost 400 yards of offense and couldn't score a touchdown?
They threw 3 picks and lost a fumble.
Oh my god! My god!
And had 70 yards of penalties.
So congrats, congrats on your Final Four, FAU.
By the way, Arkansas State, they were co-champions of the Sun Belt that year.
Here we go. Hold them close.
With tied with the Cajuns and ULM in 2005. So ridiculous.
Oh, here we go. To make FAU feel better, I will say this. FIU had all 5 of their wins vacated in 2005 because of cheating. FIU cheating.
What did they do? What did FIU do?
Major violations.
Oh my god, they were just cheating? Like they couldn't wait? They were just FIU fans, we're going to say that FIU was completely jealous of FAU, and so they had to cheat to keep up with how good you were, FAU. And that's basically what their motivation was, and they got caught by the NCAA, and they had to vacate all their wins.
There we go. There's FAU. Congrats on your Final Four. Congrats on your 11-3s, FAU. Looking forward to your next year under Tom Herman. Got that Texas in you. Not good Texas, just some Texas. I think that's all we got for today, folks.
Or something.
Say it again?
He did like at the Texas Bowl, he did like the horns on his chest or something.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I'll spare everybody.
Wasn't he the one who tweeted the "Okay, cool, hook 'em"?
Yep.
Or was that?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Hoot 'em.
Okay, cool. Hoot 'em.
Anyone else have anything they want to say for the podcast?
Again, I want to talk about Bud World Pup. Seriously. So my kid, totally enthused about the soccer. We told him we let it watch a thing. It's like, so this is Bud 3. He's playing soccer. It's completely ridiculous. In the beginning of the game, Bud completely takes out this kid and should totally have a red card. This is just some bull